She never thought cleaning toilets would save her life. But when Nadia Chen discovered the tablet that night, she made a choice that would either destroy her or transform her forever. What she didn't know was that the man watching her through the security cameras was about to make her an offer that would pull her into a world where loyalty was currency and betrayal was the only language spoken. The gunshot echoed through the underground parking garage like a thunderclap. Nadia pressed herself against the concrete pillar, her breath coming in sharp gasps that burned her lungs. Blood trickled down her temple, warm and sticky. In her clutch purse, the flash drive felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds. Nadia, the voice cut through the darkness. Not threatening, desperate. They're coming. We have 3 minutes. She closed her eyes, and for a moment, she was back in that conference room 6 months ago, holding a tablet that would change everything. I should have stayed invisible, she whispered. But to understand how she got here, crouching behind a Mercedes with bullets flying overhead, you'd have to go back to the beginning. Back to when Nadia Chen was nobody. Back to when she was exactly what everyone saw. A 26-year-old night shift custodian at Meridian Tower, Chicago's most exclusive corporate building, pushing a vacuum cleaner while the city's elites slept in their beds. The thing about being invisible is that people forget you're human. They forget you have eyes. They forget you have a brain. And that was exactly how Nadia preferred it, because being invisible meant being safe. Safe meant keeping her head down, earning her paycheck, and making sure her younger brother June could afford the treatments that kept him alive. Cystic fibrosis didn't care about dreams. It didn't care that Nadia had been 3 months away from graduating MIT with a double major in mathematics and computer science. It didn't care that she'd been the top of her class. All it cared about was that it cost $8,000 a month to keep June breathing. And when their parents died in a car accident, that burden fell on her shoulders alone. So Nadia cleaned. She vacuumed executive offices at 3 in the morning. She scrubbed toilets that cost more than her annual salary. She emptied trash bins filled with discarded dreams and corporate secrets. And she listened to advanced physics lectures through her earbuds, pretending she was still the girl who believed she could change the world with equations. It was on a Tuesday night, or technically Wednesday morning, when everything changed. Nadia was cleaning the 43rd floor conference room, the one with the panoramic view of Chicago's skyline, when she found it. A tablet. Expensive. Left carelessly on the table beside empty coffee cups and scattered papers. She should have turned it in immediately. That was protocol. That was safe. But the tablet was unlocked, and the screen showed a spreadsheet of financial documents. And Nadia, who had spent 4 years studying advanced mathematics, who could see patterns in chaos like most people could see colors, noticed something wrong. The numbers didn't add up. Not in the way that suggested error. In the way that suggested intention. Someone had moved money, lots of it, and they'd been clever about it. Almost clever enough. Her fingers moved before her brain could stop them. 3 photographs. 3 pages of evidence. 3 seconds that would haunt her. Then rationality returned. She stared at the photos on her phone, her heart hammering. What was she thinking? She was a custodian. Nobody listened to people like her. If she reported this, she'd disappear. Not metaphorically, actually disappear. These were the kind of people who made problems vanish. Nadia deleted the photos. Every single one. Then she turned in the tablet to building security and went back to vacuuming, trying to ignore the tremor in her hands. She thought that was the end of it. She was wrong. The next night, she was pulled from her shift. Not fired. Summoned. 2 security guards in expensive suits flanked her as they rode the elevator up. Past the floors she cleaned. Past the executive suites. All the way to the 47th floor. The penthouse, where Alexei Volkov lived and worked. Everyone in the building knew about Volkov. He was the kind of man people whispered about in break rooms and avoided in hallways. He ran Greystone Capital, a private equity firm that was supposedly legitimate, but everyone knew better. In Chicago's underground, his name was spoken with respect and fear. He cleaned money. He made problems disappear. And he'd built an empire that stretched from Moscow to Manhattan without a single arrest on his record. Nadia had never seen him in person. She'd cleaned his office twice, late at night when he was gone. Everything about the space screamed control. Minimalist furniture, abstract art that probably cost more than her life, and windows that looked down on the city like a king surveying his kingdom. Now she stood in that office, and Alexei Volkov stood behind his desk, watching her with eyes that missed nothing. He was younger than she expected. Early 40s, maybe, tall, sharp-featured. He wore a black suit that probably cost 5 figures, and he held himself like a man who'd never lost a fight because he never fought fair. There was something about him that reminded her of winter, beautiful and dangerous and utterly unforgiving. "Sit," he said, not a request. Nadia sat. He picked up a tablet. Her heart stopped. "You deleted the photographs." So he'd been watching. Of course he'd been watching. Yes. You had evidence of fraud that could have earned you a whistleblower reward. 6 figures, minimum. Why delete it? Nadia met his eyes. "Because I clean toilets for a living, Mr. Volkov. Nobody listens to people like me. They'd bury me before I finished the sentence." Something flickered across his face. Not quite a smile. Smart. Most people would have tried to be heroes. Heroes end up dead. He set down the tablet. "I have a proposition for you, Miss Chen. I'm not interested in propositions. You haven't heard it yet. I don't need to. Whatever you're offering, the cost is too high. The cost is your brother's medical bills. All of them. For as long as he needs treatment." Nadia's breath caught. "How do you? I know everything about you. Mitroput. Brilliant mathematician. Parents died 3 years ago in a car accident on the Eisenhower Expressway. Brother with cystic fibrosis. Treatments cost $8,000 monthly. You work 3 jobs. You're drowning." He leaned forward. "I'm offering you a life raft. In exchange for what? My wife is embezzling from me. I need proof. But everyone in my circle is compromised. Either her people or mine. I need someone invisible. Someone who thinks like you do." Nadia laughed. Came out harsh and bitter. "You want me to spy on your wife. I want you to go through her private office every night and find evidence. Emails. Financial records. Anything that proves what she's doing. Hire a private investigator. Investigators can be traced. Bought. Intimidated. You're already in the building. Already invisible. Already vetted by your background and your behavior last night." He slid a folder across the desk. "You were 3 months from graduating MIT with a double major before your parents died. You see patterns others miss. That's what I need." Nadia opened the folder. Inside was everything. Her transcripts. June's medical records. Her bank statements showing the desperate juggling act of her finances. And a contract.
52 ans upfront.
$200,000 on completion. Medical bills covered during and after. "Why me?" she asked. "Really? Because you deleted the photos. That told me 2 things. 1, you're smart enough to know when you're outmatched. 2, you're not motivated by greed. You're motivated by survival. I can work with survival. And if I say no, then you go back to cleaning toilets, your brother gets sicker, and you wonder every day if you made the right choice." He paused. "My wife is planning something bigger than theft. I think she's selling information to people who want to destroy me. Find out who. Find out when. Or we both end up dead." The words hung in the air between them. Nadia looked at the contract. At the zeros that could save June's life. At the trap that was closing around her. 75,000 upfront. 250,000 on completion. And a job recommendation letter for after. For legitimate work. Alexei smiled. For real this time. Deal. They shook hands. His grip was firm and warm and completely terrifying. As Nadia left his office, she wondered if she'd just sold her soul. But then she thought of June, struggling to breathe, and she knew she'd do it again. She'd do anything for him. Even this. The first week was reconnaissance. Nadia's night shifts took on a double purpose. She still cleaned, but now she had access to places she'd never been allowed before. Elise Volkov's private office on the 44th floor was a glass sanctuary filled with modern art and furniture that looked like sculpture. Everything was locked. Everything was password protected. Everything screamed secrets. Nadia had learned lockpicking from YouTube videos during slow nights at MIT. Back then it had been a curiosity, a skill she'd never thought she'd use. Now those hours paid off. She worked carefully, methodically, always wearing gloves, always checking camera angles. Alexei had given her the security codes to disable certain cameras, but she couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. In the first week, she found 3 hidden ledgers, offshore accounts in the Cayman Islands, shell corporations with names like Meridian Holdings and Stratus Financial, millions of dollars moving through channels that shouldn't exist. Nadia photographed everything with a camera Alexei provided, untraceable, encrypted, designed for exactly this purpose. But she also found something else. Love letters. Dozens of them. Printed emails and handwritten notes tucked in a locked drawer. They weren't from Alexei. They were signed M. Missing you tonight. Soon we'll have everything. Soon the wolf will be caged and we'll be free. The wolf. That's what they called Alexei. Nadia reported everything to him each morning in brief meetings in his office. He'd read through her findings with no expression, taking notes, asking sharp questions. But when she mentioned the letters, something changed in his face. M, he repeated. That's all I found. No full name. Keep looking. Their meetings started lasting longer. What began as transactional briefings became conversations. Alexei noticed she brought June's medical charts to review during breaks. He offered to send specialists. She refused. Debt creates obligation. This whole arrangement is debt. This is a transaction. That would be charity. I don't take charity. He studied her. You're proud.
I'm practical.
Pride is expensive. So is integrity. Yet you have both. Nadia didn't know how to respond to that. She changed the subject. You don't sleep. I can tell. How? Your eyes. The coffee consumption. The way you move like you're always ready for something to go wrong. In my world, something is always going wrong. He poured himself another coffee. It was his 4th that morning. What about you? Do you sleep? When I can remember how. They shared a look that felt too intimate. Too real. Nadia broke eye contact first. It was in the 2nd week that she nearly got caught. She was deep in Elisa's computer files, downloading encrypted folders, when she heard the elevator chime. Footsteps. Elisa's voice talking on the phone. Nadia moved fast, closed the laptop, locked the drawer, but there was nowhere to hide except behind the floor-length curtains by the window. She pressed herself against the glass, barely breathing, as Elise entered the office. Alexei Volkov was beautiful in the way that expensive things are beautiful. Polished, perfect, cold. She wore a designer dress even at 2 in the morning. She paced as she talked on the phone, and Nadia caught fragments of conversation. The wolf is getting suspicious. Move up the timeline. Pause. I don't care. We've waited long enough. 6 months, maximum. Pause. Yes, Malcolm knows. He's ready. Malcolm. Nadia's mind raced. Malcolm Stroud was Alexei's business partner, his best friend. They'd come to America together from Moscow 20 years ago. They'd built Greystone Capital together. If Malcolm was the M in the letters, Elise ended the call and left. Nadia waited 10 minutes before moving. Her legs were cramped. Her heart was racing. But she had a name now, and names meant power. When she told Alexei the next morning, his face went completely blank. That scared her more than anger would have. Malcolm, he repeated, his voice flat.
I'm sorry.
Don't be. Better to know. He stood, walked to the window, stared out at Chicago. We came here with nothing. 2 Russian kids who barely spoke English. We built this together. Everything. He turned to face her. In my world, betrayal isn't surprising. But it still hurts. Nadia saw something in that moment she hadn't expected. Vulnerability, pain, humanity. Alexei Volkov wasn't just the wolf. He was a man who'd been betrayed by everyone he'd ever trusted. What do you need me to do? She asked quietly. Find proof. Real proof. Emails between them. Transfer records. Anything that shows they're working together. And then I handle it. His eyes went cold again. Go home, Nadia. Get some rest. But she didn't go home. Instead, she went to the guest suite Alexei had set up for her on the 46th floor. The cover story was that she was Elise's new assistant, which gave her access to the building at all hours. The suite was nicer than anywhere she'd ever lived. It had a view. It had silence. It had too much space for someone used to a cramped apartment in Pilsen. She couldn't sleep. She kept thinking about Malcolm and Elise. About the timeline. 6 months maximum. 6 months until what? She pulled out her laptop and started digging deeper into the files she'd copied. That's when she found it. Buried in encrypted folders. Email chains between Elise and someone identified only as Agent R. And the emails made everything clear. Elise wasn't just embezzling. She wasn't just planning a coup with Malcolm. She was working with the FBI. She was a confidential informant. And every piece of information Nadia had gathered, every file she'd copied, every photograph she'd taken, it was all evidence in a federal investigation. Nadia was an accomplice to obstruction of justice. She stared at the screen, her stomach turning to ice. She'd been so focused on helping Alexei, on saving June, that she hadn't stopped to think about what she was really doing. She was helping a criminal cover up crimes. She was destroying evidence. Her phone buzzed. A text from Alexei. Come to my office. Now. The elevator ride felt like descending into hell. When she entered his office, Alexei was standing by the window again. He didn't turn around. You lied to me, Nadia said. Now he turned. About what? Everything. You're not just running a private equity firm. You're not just cleaning money for clients. You're actively criminal. And your wife isn't embezzling. She's an FBI informant. I've been helping you obstruct a federal investigation. How did you? He stopped. You went deeper than I asked. You're surprised? You hired me because I see patterns. Well, I saw this one. Your wife has been working with the FBI for years. Your entire marriage is a sting operation. And I just became an accessory. Alexei poured 2 drinks. Handed her one. She took it. I never lied to you. I told you I run private equity. I do. What my clients do with their cleaned money isn't my concern. That's a lie of omission. And you're here by choice. Leave if you want. Keep the upfront money. I won't stop you. Nadia downed the drink. It burned. Tell me everything. The real everything. Or I walk right now and you never see me again. He sat down heavily. For the first time since she'd met him, Alexei Volkov looked tired. Genuinely, bone-deep tired. I came to America running from the Russian mob. I was 19. Malcolm was 18. We had nothing but the clothes on our backs and a list of names. People in Moscow who owed favors. We started small. Moving money. Making problems disappear. We were good at it. How good? Good enough that we built an empire. But I'm not a monster, Nadia. I don't hurt innocents. I don't traffic in human misery. I clean money for people who would do it anyway, with or without me. And in exchange, I feed information to people who keep actual violent criminals away from American soil. I'm not a hero. I'm a necessary evil. And I'm tired of it. Then why not just quit? Because Elise was never my wife. She was a plant. FBI recruited her 8 years ago. Our marriage was her cover. Every moment, every conversation, every night we shared the same bed. It was all surveillance. And now she wants my insurance policy. What insurance policy? Proof of who really owns what in this city. Names. Accounts. Connections to politicians, judges, police chiefs. I've been collecting it for 20 years. It's my guarantee that nobody touches me. But I hid it so well I can't remember where. He looked at her. But you could find it. If you understood how I think. Nadia felt like she was standing on the edge of a cliff. Behind her was safety. Ahead was the fall. Why would I help you? Because if Elise gets that insurance, she doesn't just take me down. She takes down half of Chicago's government. Good people and bad people. And the power vacuum that creates? It'll be bloody. More people will die in the aftermath than I've ever hurt in my entire career. And if I help you find it, then I use it to broker a deal. I give the FBI everything they want. I go into witness protection. I disappear. And you get enough money to live whatever life you want. You and June free and clear. She should have said no. Every rational part of her brain screamed to walk away. But Nadia had stopped being rational the moment she photographed those documents. Where do we start? Over the next 2 weeks, Nadia and Alexei tore through his life looking for the insurance policy. They searched his penthouse, his office, storage units he'd rented under fake names. They went through old files and older memories. The work brought them together in ways that felt dangerous. Late one night, they found a storage unit from his first year in America. Inside were boxes of photographs, documents, pieces of a life he'd tried to forget. Nadia watched him sort through pictures of a younger version of himself. He looked different, hopeful. "What did you want to be?" she asked. "Before all this? An architect. I wanted to build things that lasted. Things people would remember. It's not too late." He laughed bitterly. "For men like me, it's always too late." "That's not true. You're choosing to believe that because it's easier than trying." "And what would you know about it?" "I know about giving up. I know what it feels like to have dreams and watch them die because the world doesn't care. But I also know that the only person who really kills your dreams is you. Everyone else just makes it harder." They were standing close. Too close. Alexei reached out, brushed a strand of hair from her face. "You're not what I expected." "What did you expect?" "Someone easier to control." Disappointed. Terrified. They almost kissed. Nadia felt it in the air between them, the pull of something that could destroy them both. But she pulled back. "We can't." "I know. This is already complicated enough." "I know." But the moment stayed with them, changed things, made everything harder. It was Nadia who finally found it. The insurance wasn't a file or a document. It was encoded in the architectural plans of Meridian Tower itself. Buried in the building permits, the floor layouts, the structural documents. Only someone who understood both architecture and advanced mathematics could see it. The numbers told a story. A map of corruption hiding in plain sight. "You're brilliant," Alexei said when she showed him.
I'm Pharaoh.
"There's a difference."
No.
"You're brilliant. And I'm grateful." But gratitude turned to alarm when they decoded what the plans revealed. Malcolm wasn't just planning to betray Alexei. He was planning to do it tonight. Transfer everything. Frame Alexei for international money laundering. Disappear with Elise and $30 million. They had 2 hours. "We need to move," Alexei said. "Now." "Where?" "Somewhere public. Somewhere with witnesses. If Malcolm is moving tonight, he'll need the physical documents. They're in a safe deposit box downtown. We get there first, we get leverage." They took his car. Drove through Chicago streets at speeds that should have gotten them pulled over. Nadia's heart hammered the entire time. This was insane. This was suicide. This was... Alexei's phone rang. He put it on speaker. Malcolm's voice filled the car. "You're too late, brother. It's already done." "Where are you?" "Meridian Tower. Underground parking. Come alone or Elise dies." He hung up. Alexei looked at Nadia. "Stay in the car." "Absolutely not." "Nadia, this isn't. We're partners or we're nothing. You taught me that. Now drive." They parked 3 levels up from where Malcolm specified. Approached carefully. Alexei had a gun. Nadia had a flash drive with copies of everything they'd found. It was a decoy, but Malcolm didn't know that. The real evidence was with Alexei's lawyer, ready to be released if anything happened to them. The parking garage was dark and cold. Their footsteps echoed. Nadia saw Malcolm first. He stood next to a black SUV, gun in hand. But Elise stood beside him, also armed. "You should have stayed a janitor, Nadia," Malcolm said. "Custodian," she corrected. "And you should have stayed loyal. Loyalty doesn't pay the bills." Alexei stepped forward. "This is between us, Malcolm. Let her go. She's in too deep. She knows too much." Malcolm smiled. Besides, Elise has plans for her. That's when everything went wrong. Or right, depending on how you looked at it. Elise turned her gun on Malcolm. You really think I was going to split this with you? Malcolm's face went white. What are you? I've been playing all of you. FBI. Malcolm. You, Alexei. You're all so predictable. So easy to manipulate. She looked at Nadia. Especially you. What are you talking about? Your brother.
Junior.
His illness isn't random. I've been poisoning him for months. Creating the financial desperation that made you vulnerable. Making you need this job. Need this money. Everything was designed to get you close to Alexei. To find the insurance. To crack his defenses. Nadia felt the world tilt. The blood rushed to her head. Everything she'd done. Everything she'd sacrificed. It was all manipulation. June was suffering because of her. Because Elise had made him a target. Something broke inside her. Not fear. Rage.
Pure, incandescent rage.
She'd spent her whole life being careful. Being invisible. Playing by rules designed to keep people like her in their place. But rules didn't matter anymore. Safety didn't matter. The only thing that mattered was making Elise pay. Nadia moved before anyone could react. She wasn't trained. Wasn't skilled. But she was desperate and furious, and she'd spent 3 years carrying her brother up 4 flights of stairs because their building's elevator was broken. She was stronger than she looked. She slammed into Elise before the woman could aim. They hit the ground hard. The gun skittered away. Elise was faster. Better trained. She got on top, hands around Nadia's throat. You should have known your place. I know exactly where I belong, Nadia gasped. She grabbed Elise's wrist, used leverage instead of strength. Flipped their positions. On top, she punched Elise. Once, twice, 3 times. Years of frustration and fear and humiliation poured out of her. She barely heard the gunshot. Barely registered Malcolm falling. Barely noticed Alexei disarming him. All she saw was Elise. The woman who'd poisoned her brother. The woman who'd made June suffer just to manipulate her. Nadia pulled back her fist for another punch, but Alexei caught her wrist. Stop! Sirens! She heard them now. Police. FBI. Alexei had called them before they arrived. He'd known this was a one-way trip. You set this up. I told you.
I'm tired.
Better to burn it all down on my terms than let them take it. He pulled her up. Run. Now. Take the stairs. There's a car waiting on the street. Keys under the mat. Drive to this address. He pressed a card into her hand. Tell them I sent you. They'll help. What about you? I made my choices. Now make yours. The FBI swarmed in. Alexei put his hands up. Surrendered. Nadia ran. She took the stairs 3 at a time, burst onto the street, found the car, drove to an address in Evanston. A law office. They were waiting for her. They had papers. A bank account with $250,000. Medical records showing June was being treated for heavy metal poisoning. Evidence that would clear her of any wrongdoing. Alexei had planned everything. Even his own ending. If you're still watching, hit that subscribe button. Because what happened next will shock you. Drop a comment and let me know what you think Nadia should do. And keep watching because this story isn't over yet. 6 months later, Nadia walked across MIT's campus with June beside her. He was healthy, thriving. The treatments for the poisoning had worked. He'd gained weight. His color was back. He argued with her about physics, about the new theories he was learning, about everything and nothing. Nadia had been readmitted to MIT with a full scholarship. The whistleblower reward had helped. So had the recommendation letter Alexei had somehow arranged before disappearing into witness protection. She was 3 months from graduating. She had job offers from companies she'd dreamed about. She had her life back. Or maybe she'd never had a life before. Maybe this was the first time she was really living. She entered her advanced algorithms lecture and sat down. Opened her laptop. An email notification appeared. No sender name. Subject line. Blueprints. She hesitated. Then opened it. Attached were architectural plans. Not for buildings. For identities. For two people. New names. New backgrounds. New lives. An invitation to disappear. To build something that would last. At the bottom was a message. When you're ready to build something that lasts.
No obligación.
No debt. Just a choice. Nadia stared at the email. Her cursor hovered over delete. The professor started the lecture. Around her, students opened notebooks. Her phone buzzed with a text from June asking if she wanted lunch after class. Her future stretched out before her, bright and clear and safe. She thought about Alexei, about the way he'd looked at her in that storage unit, about the way he'd surrendered himself to save her, about the question he'd asked, what about who you could be? Her finger moved to the reply button, then stopped. The lecture continued. Nadia closed the laptop without responding. But she didn't delete the email either. Some choices aren't meant to be made quickly. Some choices require time. Some choices change everything. And some choices, the most important ones, are about deciding what kind of person you want to be when nobody's watching. Nadia looked out the window at the Boston skyline. Somewhere out there, Alexei was building a new life. Somewhere out there, possibilities existed she'd never imagined. Somewhere out there, the wolf was waiting to see if she'd choose the safe path or the unknown road. She'd spent her whole life being invisible by necessity. Maybe it was time to be invisible by choice. Or maybe it was time to be seen. To build something that lasted. To take the risk. The answer would come. Just not today. Today she had a lecture to finish. A brother to have lunch with. A future to secure. And an email that promised everything or nothing depending on how you looked at it. Before we end, make sure to like this video if you want to see what Nadia decides. Comment below. Should she respond to Alexei's email or delete it forever? And subscribe because next week we're dropping another story that will keep you on the edge of your seat. Trust me, you won't want to miss it. The Wolf's Bargain wasn't about money or power or even love. It was about choices. About the moment when you decide who you are and who you want to be. About the courage to risk everything for something that might not even exist. And about understanding that sometimes the most dangerous thing you can do is play it safe. Nadia Chen had learned that lesson the hard way. Now she had to decide what to do with it. And that, more than anything else, was what made her finally truly free.